You're welcome back once again. It is still the Super Breakfast Show right here on Super Screen Television. Life is full of challenges, and there's no way we can go through life without experiencing some form of challenge. But the question here is, however, how we handle these challenges is what matters, is what determines if we're going to overcome it or it's leading to depression. What is depression, you may ask? Depression is a common but serious ailment that negatively affects the way you think, the way you act, and the way you feel. According to the World Health Organization, an estimated 322 million people suffer from depression yearly globally. And a new report has it that women are most likely to suffer depression than men. I'm sure you'll be asking why. So today on the show, we are going to be talking about overcoming depression and life challenges. And to help us have this conversation this morning is Tosi Imogeme. He is a life coach and an emotional intelligence expert. Tosin, you're welcome.
Yes, it's my pleasure.
Thank you, and we're glad you can be here.
Pride.
Thank you. So we're talking about depression, overcoming depression and life challenges. I mean, there's no way we can go through life without experiencing any of these things. And I said depression, it's like negatively affects the way you think, the way you feel, and the way you act. Please, I'd like you to shed light on that.
You see, first and foremost, I would just like to say that pain is inevitable. Challenges in life, difficulties, circumstances, tragedies are inevitable. However, suffering from it is completely optional.
Okay.
What it means is that two people can go through one circumstance, and while one becomes better from it, the other person can become bitter from it. So it all boils down to your mindset, how you perceive the situation, and how you manage the situation. And one of the strategies in helping people, enabling people overcome depression or overcome their psychological or emotional pain is to eliminate negative thoughts. Now, there's a statistics from the World Health Organization that says that every 40 seconds, someone somewhere in the world commits suicide. As we're speaking, the next 40 seconds, imagine that someone will take his life. Now, why are these people taking their lives? Because they're going through some challenges, some circumstances that they feel is beyond their control. But it begins with them having negative thoughts about these circumstances. And the moment you're having negative thoughts, something tells you, take your life. Go jump off
The cliff.
and all that. So it begins with eliminating bad thoughts from your mind. Now, I always give this scenario. A guy was once diagnosed to be HIV positive. And of course, he felt very bad about it. He began to worry, he had anxiety, he was so fearful, and a few days later, he died. Now, I'll throw the question to you. What killed him? Was it the HIV, was it his virus, or his thoughts?
Negative thoughts.
Yes, that's how powerful our thoughts are. Our thoughts precedes our actions. You have to think about things before you do them. I always tell people that a rapist first needs to think about that act. He has to imagine it, process it in his mind before he eventually gets to the point where it becomes an action. He does it. So you eliminate negative thoughts. Worrying is not good for your health. If a problem can be solved, is there any reason to worry? There's no reason. On the other hand, if it cannot be solved, what's the point? If you know that, okay, perhaps you're going to die in 6 months, the best thing is just to start preparing. But by worrying about it would even shorten the time. Do you understand? So you take it off. Fear is not good for your health. When doctors or medical experts are going to treat a patient, they know that when the patient is in a state of fear, there's a little chance that he can make it. So fear is also not good for your mental health. It's not good for your, your health. So
what are the types of depression? I mean, I'm sure it comes in various forms. Can you tell us some of the types of depressions, how it comes?
And the thing is, basically, depression is when you begin to, it starts with your negative thoughts. And it gets to the point where you feel helpless and it affects your brain. It triggers something in the brain, and eventually you begin to feel hopeless about the situation. You begin to feel helpless about the situation. And something else I was going to mention again is the fact that, you see, when you are going through circumstances and you begin to have negative thoughts, you know, like I said previously, that it, you know, triggers some kind of thoughts in your mind. Now, there are different kinds of depression, but the bottom line is it all begins with the kind of thought you have in your mind. I was going to mention something about language too. That, you know, language are powerful. For example, I run a prison ministry, and when I went to the prison some time ago, we were about to get in, and then the warden told us that, you see, don't call this place a prison, call it a correctional center.
I mean,
Now,
that's what they're calling it now.
yes, that's what we're calling it, but of course we are still used to the old, you know, language. Now, while the word prison indicates a place of confinement, a place of punishment, the word correctional center subtly suggests that this is a place to foster change in behavior. So our words are also very, very, very powerful. And you see, there's also another example I like to give. Like, there's a school in Chicago that changed their grading system. Now, usually, you know, you have the pass and then you have the fail and repeats. But in that particular school, when people fail, rather than put the fail and repeat, they put not yet.
Even here, I think I had a lecturer just recently. He doesn't give you like the normal like this or like this.
Okay.
Yes, he just says, okay, let's keep trying or let's try again. We'll get it soon. That's the way he marks. He doesn't score you whether 0 or.
But how rampant is that? You know, even for example, now they're saying we're on lockdown. When you hear the word lockdown, it triggers, it tells you that you're in prison. People begin to feel that
I mean,
they're
I think
kids
that's
and all
actually
that.
what he changed the whole people's mentality.
Yes.
Like, they are all confined into a certain place. Like, you're at home, you're locked down, that you're not going anywhere. So that alone triggers a whole lot in people.
Yes. So it's your language too also matters. You know, the scripture says that life and death, you know, is in the tongue. Whatever you profess is what manifests. And when you say things, what people do not know is that your subconscious mind is listening. So when you're saying, you're speaking, it is echoing to your subconscious mind, and it begins to, your subconscious mind cannot, it is dumb. You know, it's like the CPU in your system. Whatever the keyboard, whatever you type into, you know, whatever you type is what the CPU, you know, acts on. So it doesn't know left from right, positive from negative. It just acts. So I always tell people that you also need to be careful with beware of the kind of words that you use. But the most important strategy in enabling people to overcome depression is reviewing your situation. Now, I tell people that, you see, it's not your situation that cripples you. It's not your situation that, you know, brings depression. It's how you think about it, the thoughts that you have in your mind. Now, for example, when someone dies, the family of or the relatives of that deceased, they are prone to feeling bad about it, feeling sad. But the man who is going to sell the casket or is going to sell the coffin to them, of course, is going to cash out. And he will be happy about it. In fact, if he has a family, he will go to his family, you know, and then they will all rejoice and they will even say, God, thank God for provision. When someone loses his or her job, you know, he feels bad about it. But whoever is going to replace him will feel happy about it. It's the same situation, but different, you know, interpretation of it. So for every given situation, there are different perspectives to it. Somewhere in Namibia, there's a tribe that when you visit them, the husband gives the wife to you, you know, to, you know, have sexual intercourse with it.
Presently, or?
You could Google it.
Because there was even a time they said that happens in Benue State.
Yes,
as well.
yes. I didn't want to talk about Nigeria because, of course. However, you know, this happens. But you see, for some other people, imagine your spouse cheating on you. I know people who have actually, I've heard stories where people commit suicide, where people, you know, become depressed. It's the same circumstance. So it's not necessarily the circumstance, but how you interpret the circumstance. So it means that if your circumstance can be interpreted differently, why not choose the positive one? So if, Dr. Windar said that when you change the way you look at things, the things that you look at, they automatically change. So if you lose your job, why not just tell yourself that, oh, maybe God wants a better job for me, or perhaps God wants me to start a business. If you lose a loved one, why not say, okay, perhaps maybe it's time for them to die, they fulfill their earthly purpose. Because we all know that life is not about how long we live. It's not about longevity, but significance. So when you review your situation, change the way you look at it. It automatically changes your mindset, your perception about the situation.
Yeah. The World Bank revealed that 22% of Nigerians, on average, are clinically depressed.
Yes.
How do you react to that? I mean,
well, the circumstances is something you can personally relate to with, because, and you remember you said that women are more likely to be depressed than men. I doubt that, because
okay, yes, men
we hardly show our emotions. We live in a society, in a culture where people say, be tough, be a man, and all that. Because of that, you do not want to be vulnerable, and vulnerability is part of it. Sometimes it's okay to, it's okay to cry.
Yes.
It's okay to release those emotions. It's okay to show some vulnerability. You don't have to be a man, or, do you understand? It's just you showing that, of course, I'm human after all. So a lot of men are actually depressed, but no man will own up. Imagine, me being your spouse, and then I tell you that, oh, I feel bad, or I'm beginning to cry. How do you begin to look? In society, the way we see it, we see it as, we interpret it to be weakness.
I've come to actually realize that men should actually be allowed to feel.
Yes, of course.
You get.
Of course, we have emotions.
I read the book recently. It said men also cry. Sometimes just let them, because they bottle this whole thing inside. A woman is able to bring out whatever she's feeling.
Yes, because
by screaming, yelling, and reacting the way she feels.
But we men, we internalize everything. We just feel, oh, I need to be tough, I need to be strong, I need to be this, I need to be that. So another strategy, okay, you mentioned something about the World Health Organization talking about Nigerians, 22%. Yes, if you're looking at the state of our economy, things are not, going the way they ought to go. So it's only natural, only normal for people to feel bad about it. So I even got a statistic that, we are actually the most depressed in Africa. Yes. At some point. And we have an attitude of suffering and smiling. So even when things are not going well, when you say, oh, for example, I ask you, how are you? You already have, by default, you already have a response. I'm fine. Even when you're not fine.
Yes.
So we have this attitude of suffering and smiling, patching things up. Even, people go to hotels, the bed parlor, and try to drown their worries and all that, applying a temporary fix to sometimes a permanent situation. So it doesn't work. So I completely agree that, of course, 1 in every 5 people, is suffering from depression or depression symptoms. Like, for example, insomnia. Okay. It's a symptom. If you cannot sleep at night and you're trying and forcing yourself.
Like mostly the basic.
Yes. So
even in my own situation, I suffer that a lot. And sometimes it's not even necessarily because you're thinking about something, but you just can't sleep.
Sometimes you don't even know when you're thinking.
Maybe.
Do you know sometimes you may wake up and discover that you're sweating even when the room is air conditioned, and you're wondering,
I feel that
what's
sometimes.
wrong? Subconscious mind is working. I feel it too sometimes. I sleep, I wake up, and I still feel tired. So it means that, you've perhaps processed some thoughts in your mind. You have the conscious mind and you have the subconscious mind. This conscious mind is, I can liken it to the keyboard. You take in information via, experiences, conversation, books, and all that through your 5 senses, your eyes, your ears, your tongue, your skin, and all that. So when it takes in the information, it passes it to the subconscious mind. The subconscious mind is dumb. It cannot differentiate. Is the mind of action. So that's the mind that processes things. Haven't you realized sometimes you wake up, perhaps you've been pondering on certain situations or certain circumstances, and you perhaps couldn't get an answer. Then you sleep, and you wake up the next day, and you suddenly have answers or ideas. Of course, so your subconscious mind, while you were sleeping, was working and processing the thoughts and came up with possible solutions, and then when you're awake, you become conscious about it. So even when you're sleeping,
Or sometimes, don't you think when you wake up, I mean, everything is suppressed, even if there's no solution?
well, it's possible. It's very possible.
Because the problem is still there.
No, even, sleeping is good for your health. Sleeping is part of life. So of course, sometimes you can sleep over a thought. Sometimes when you're feeling so sad or feeling so bad about certain things, you can just, sometimes, let me confess to you, sometimes I sleep to drown my worries. If sometimes I feel, for example, if I get some bad news at night, okay, sometimes when I try as much as possible to do away with these statistics that, keeps coming up about confirmed cases and all that.
Yeah.
And I remember some weeks ago, I was walking in the midnight, and then I saw the update from NCDC, and immediately I felt bad about it. So immediately I shut my laptop, I closed my laptop, and I slept off. And I woke up the next day, I felt better about it. So sleeping, of course, is also therapeutic. And I think I must mention the fact that, you see, what people do not know is that, you see, let me paint a scenario here. Are there times when you watch a movie and you begin to cry?
Yes,
You
definitely.
become so touched about it. Or sometimes you watch a horror movie and
Yeah, I don't watch horror movies because I feel like when
And-
I'm sleeping,
yeah,
it's going to.
and you're getting scared. Now, let me ask you, why are you scared when you know that it's just a movie? It's a stage play.
Yes, but at that point, you.
The thing is, while your conscious mind knows, or while you know that this is a movie, your subconscious mind doesn't know, cannot differentiate between fiction and reality. So whatever your senses are passing on to it, it believes is real, whether it's imagination or it is reality. So that's why I tell people that if you know you cannot handle certain things, if, for example, if you know you can't handle the news, stop watching the news. It's okay. If there's someone who actually brings you bad memories, but it's okay to avoid them because it's your mental health we are talking about here. You understand? Even the scripture says that guard your heart with all due diligence, because out of it comes the issues of life. So it's always very essential for you to know that your mind is very, very sensitive. You are not your mind. People think that I'm my mind. No, I'm not my mind. My mind is just a tool. Sometimes when I'm done with the mind, I can drop it and feel free. But if you use the mind all the time, it can wear you out, because the mind is always, every day we process about between 50 to 70,000 thoughts.
Thoughts, yes.
Every day you're always thinking. Imagine you taking a staircase. Do you look at the staircase, like look at the ground and try to just admire, what you're seeing? No, you're always, is either you're in the past or in the future. If you live in the past, it causes depression, it causes regret. When you live in the future, it causes anxiety.
Okay.
So
Sorry, hold that thoughts. This is, we'll go on a short break, and when we return, the program continues.
iReports gets even better with SuperScreen TV. Stand a chance of winning recharge cards for your efforts. Send videos and accompanying description to this WhatsApp line on 0811 1776 314. Viewers can send footages of newsworthy items, breaking news, and other events, and have it feature on SuperScreen television. Stand a chance of winning recharge cards for your efforts. Send videos and accompanying description to this WhatsApp line on 0811 1776 314. iReports gets even better with SuperScreen TV.
You are welcome back once again. It is still the Super Breakfast Show, and we are talking about overcoming depression and life challenges. I mean, these things always occur, but what matters is how you handle it. And we have a life coach and emotional intelligence expert in the house this morning, Tosin Imogeme.
Yeah,
Yes, we are shedding light on this thing. So this is for you to know that the phone lines are open. You can call us in, make your own contribution. You can share your own experience, because we all have experienced depression somehow, but most times we don't even know what it is, but we have experiences. So call us, let's learn from you, and other people can also learn from your experience and how you are able to handle it. So I was going to ask, what are the signs and symptoms of depression, and does it vary from male to female?
Well, okay, let me begin by saying, I spoke about the insomnia already, and you could even relate with that, that sometimes you find it difficult to sleep.
Yeah.
Another symptom is when you just feel, a feeling of hopelessness or helplessness, feeling that, you can't handle your circumstance, you're completely helpless, and by virtue of that, you feel you do not take responsibility. Then also having loss of interest in activities that you usually, feel enthusiastic about. For example, you're someone who's so lively and you like to dance when you hear your favorite music, and then when that favorite music comes, you're just all dumb, and you feel completely indifferent. Sometimes too it could be just like the body language I portrayed now. Some people are just so laid back, so passive. They feel, when you look at them, you just look at them as people who are as though stupid, or people are just so completely indifferent, about life. So the different strategy, there are different symptoms, there are lots of symptoms, However, the major thing is when you begin to feel negative, when you begin to withdraw. Sometimes you just want to go out, you just want to sleep all day. Some people are like that. I told you too that sometimes when I feel worried or I feel depressed at some point, what I do is I sleep. I just sleep off. So if that sleeping takes too long, there's a problem too, because
If it takes too long, like,
you sleep 6 hours, every night, 8 hours, and then you wake up, you go back to sleep. You are just trying to shut off reality. You don't want to have it, then there's a problem. You need to begin to examine such a person. What's wrong? Why are you always sleeping? Some people eat, overeating. Sometimes I know a friend who his spouse left him, and he felt so bad about it, and he took to eating. He started overeating and just trying to find, solace in food.
yeah, I think that's the basic. People tend to gain weight when they go through some things in life. They start munching, eating things.
Well, it differs between people. Some people may lose weight, some people may gain weight. So it differs between, people.
So, like, for a fact, we know that you can agree with me that depression is treatable, right?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so how can it be treated?
Well, you see, the thing is, when you're going through some form of, prolonged depression, and that's why I think you should seek help from a therapist, a psychologist, a clinical psychologist. However, the strategies that you can quickly take, are the ones that have been, mentioned in so far. But when, of course, it's going overboard, and like for example, I had a friend who brought his brother to me and said this brother for so long, for ever since he's known him, he's never known this guy to be active. He's always been passive. And when I engage this guy, when I ask him questions, he can't just, he finds it hard to give me a straight answer. He's usually he's always having 3 to 5, possible options, and then he thinks about it. And even when he answers, if I question that, answer, he'll be like, oh, okay, you perhaps want to change it. So over time, I discovered that this guy is, suffering from, A-level depression, and it is far beyond my own, expertise. So I had to refer him to, a clinical psychologist who do proper treatment on him. So, but the things that you cannot everyone, because we live in a society where people are scared. When the moment someone is saying, I want to go see a psychologist or a psychiatrist, you begin to think the person is going mad or is going nuts. Do you understand? So people tend to shy away from those things, and it's just completely normal. just the way you have pains in your body and you go see the doctor, you can have, mindset problems. And, you go to psychologists. Sometimes they may not even treat you. It may just be a conversation.
Yeah.
That's why I talked about the fact that our thoughts are powerful. And, there's this phrase that says that as a man thinketh, so he is. And as a man continues to think, so he remains. So if you have wrong thinking patterns, of course, it can be detrimental to your health. Let me tell you something that may astound you. Do you know something? I believe that depression can be a gift sometimes.
Okay.
Now, let me give you a scenario. If a man is perhaps destined to become a doctor, and he's shown signs, he's shown so much enthusiasm in the medical line, and by virtue of maybe his parents or the economy, he chooses another course. Maybe, you have parents who always enforce the children to, I want you to, most times, because if, for example, I wanted to become a lawyer and I couldn't achieve, that in my life, then I automatically start trying to force that on my child so that I can see that, come to reality. Whereas the fact that your children came through you does not mean they are for you, they are for humanity. So let them express what God has given them. So if such a person who is supposed to be a doctor goes on to work, in another field, for example, as an engineer, at some point in his life, he will begin to feel that disconnect. He begin to feel that loss of interest. You begin to feel so depressed. You begin to feel so hopeless, and you may not be able to place it. You just feel that I'm not feeling fulfilled on this job. That's life's way of telling you there's something wrong and you need to change. So sometimes it could be a gift. That's why it's always good to sit and examine yourself. Why am I feeling depressed about my current situation?
We have Moses
about
calling
this thing. I have something like that. So from there, it's one girl that disappointed me that period, which it made me to collapse. And through that was completely 3 months I'm not get myself. And if I sleep, I'll just wake up, see myself that I wake. So by gradually, until when I go to church, and the prayer group, they put me to the middle and pray for me before I started to recover myself gradually. But if it's not because of God, I will not mentor that period. So that is what I want to share with you.
Thank you so much, Moses, for sharing.
Yeah, thank you very much. I give that example that, when I cited the tribe in Namibia, that, they give their wives as gift to the visitors. Now, it's the same circumstance. Now you feel someone else somewhere in the world, that same thing happens. And he misinterprets it to be a bad situation.
Yeah.
And of course, it can, destroy you. It can ruin you, because I'm a practical example. I've been living it. I can testify to that, because he even tried. He tried, and he said his own was about 3 months.
For 3 months.
I've gone over a year, when some time ago, I lost a loved one, she left me, and then I misinterpreted it. So it's not necessarily God, because this is not a spiritual issue. Sometimes when you have psychological issues, people go
like
to
we
church.
said, overcoming. This is how he overcame his own depression by
the
prayers.
thing is, if he continues to nurture the feeling that he's a loser, she left him, then of course he would still get back to that. You always, at that point in time, you always feel bad. Now I always tell people, like, when I said it the other time, I said, well, you change the way you look at things. The things that you look at, they tend to change. What if she's meant for you and you've done all you need to do and she left? What if she's not meant for you?
They always say if you love someone, you should let them go. If they come back to you, they're meant for you.
The truth is, you can't, it takes so much to change yourself as a human being. Aren't there habits sometimes you're trying to do away with? For example, you don't want to take soft drinks. You can relate.
Coke.
And you keep telling yourself, I won't do this again, I won't do that again. But it's difficult because it's a pattern that, has been registered in your brain. So if it's difficult to change yourself, imagine how much more it is difficult to change someone else.
Yes.
So of course, let them go. If they go learn their lesson and you come back and you still feel convicted that, oh, this person is for me, then it's fine. But most times, whoever leaves you, when you're doing when you're doing the right thing, perhaps person is not meant for you. That's just the way I see it. That's life way of disconnecting me from such a
Now,
person.
Talking about dealing with life challenges, how can people see opportunity in life challenges and take advantage of them?
It still boils down to changing your mindset about something. Now, I gave the scenario that when someone dies, you feel bad about it. Whoever sells the casket is an opportunity for that person. Now, the truth is, inherent in every problem is an opportunity.
Okay.
When something goes wrong, if, for example, this table gets broken, it's an opportunity for
someone else to make a sale.
to make a sale. So for every problem, like for example, I think life it's just a natural mechanism of life. If people are not cheated, we wouldn't have lawyers. If people do not fall sick, we wouldn't have doctors. If everyone says yes, to every proposition, you won't have marketers. So what is someone's loss is someone else's gain.
Yes.
So what you need to do at that point in time is to make that shift. Make the switch from being a victim of the situation to becoming a victor of that situation.
How?
For example, it's just changing your mindset and changing strategies.
It's difficult.
It's difficult because people are, naturally we like being in our comfort zone. But you see, we know that change is a constant, phenomenon in life. And Charles Darwin once said that it's not the strongest or most intelligent of species that survive. It is those that are most adaptable to change. For example, we live in a time in the community where most of our meetings, we have to sit together to have meetings at the office, at church and all that. But this pandemic has forced people to change. Now people are having meetings on Zoom. People are having meetings online, you understand? So we are now transcending to the digital, economy, taking absolute advantage of ICT. But the challenge is we are usually resistant to change. And if you're resistant to change, you will suffer. Because life is telling you, move on, change. But you're holding on to your old beliefs, holding on to your old mentality, holding on to your old way of doing things. And I tell people that, you see, when you're unable to change a situation, it's only logical for you to change your attitude about it.
Okay.
If, for example, you lose someone, you can't revive that person from the dead. Why not just change your attitude about it? So in that situation, people can always find opportunities when they change the way they see things. Sometimes when I drive, and I remember when I'm driving and maybe my car develops a fault, next thing you just start seeing a mechanic strolling from one corner. It's an opportunity for him. Do you understand? So that's just the way life is wired. People can always see opportunities in their challenges, in their circumstances, when they change how they look at things. Now, I remember I had a webinar some time ago, and a friend told me that he finds it difficult to read. He finds it difficult to read. And I told him that you need to find a solution to that. Because the moment you find a solution to it, you become an authority. And there are several other people, millions of people are perhaps going through that same circumstance, that same difficulty. So the moment you solve that problem, you become an ambassador, you become a change agent, and you now begin to teach people how you were able to overcome the circumstance. And you make
that's
money.
why we have motivational speakers.
Speakers, yes.
And life coaches, because most of them have passed through these things. So the way they actually overcame it is not what they're trying to
is a
teach,
template, or you just need to just document. What are the things that I did well? Most times people do not document these things. They just go through life and they just, talk.
Just like, okay, we have Ike calling from Bariga. Ike, good morning.
Hello.
Good morning.
Hello.
Hello.
My name is Yukesh.
Are you there?
It's Yukesh.
Okay, we can hear you.
my contribution. I'm here to contribute about overcoming our challenges in life.
Okay.
We have many challenges, but few of to overcome it, like temptations and others. But we ourselves, we are strong and we have to do it together. If we don't do it, if we don't challenge it, if we don't fight back, we will lose. So, to my own opinion, life challenges is just like a playground. Thank you.
Thank you. Life challenges is just a playground. What do you say to that?
Well, I think I'll paraphrase that. I'll say life is a battlefield. You know, and you know, Plato once said that it's only the dead that have seen the end of war. Life is a battlefield where we fight with our mind, fight with our skills, our gifts, and all that. And the truth is, the more you fight, the more you get stronger. No one goes through a circumstance the same and come out of it the same person.
No, definitely not.
You know, it's just a natural mechanism. Let me give you a scenario. Do you eat plantain? You're smiling. You don't need to. I don't even need you. I don't need an answer. I don't need an answer. Now, how do you, how when you get a plantain, you subject it to heat. You get your fry pan, get your oil, and then you put it in, and then it begins to, you know, fry. Now, what you're doing is you're subjecting that plantain to a thorough,
Why are you making me feel bad now? Like,
to a painful circumstance. And while the plantain will be dancing, and you know, you just keep, you know, frying, and you'd even take it, you know, and then switch over to the other side till it is done. See, it's just a natural circumstance. You know, when you get your raw rice, it has to go through boiling. It has to go through. That's just the way life is. Your cake has to go through. You have to get into an oven.
yeah.
It's the heat that brings out the best. So that's just life. You see, it's our circumstances. I tell people that pleasure comforts us,
Okay.
but pain, challenges,
Challenges,
difficulties,
okay.
they strengthen us. They help us develop thick skin. So it's when you go through tough times that your character is being built. I tell people that it's not.
But then again, some people go through this challenges in life, and then when they come out of it, I
They're
feel
worse.
to an extent they still hold on to it, because if a girl broke his heart,
Yeah.
he goes through it
Yeah.
and comes out.
Yeah.
Okay, he feels like, I've gotten over her, I can now
Yeah.
move on. The next relationship, he's going to now base it on the treatment he got from that other girl.
You see, there's a saying that your past is not your definition. Your past is meant for your education. So you don't allow your past define you. You allow your past educate you. You pick up the lessons from the past and you move on.
And then base
So-
it on the current, on the,
Yes.
the present.
Yes. Okay. For example, I was telling you about my own relationship that I had relationship crisis at the time. I picked up the lessons from it, and then I got into the next relationship. The things that I did wrong, because I had to examine myself. What did I do well, and what could I have done better? So the lessons, I applied it to the next relationship. So, but when you begin to have this mindset of, you know, people go through circumstances, or maybe they go through the same relationship crisis, and then the next thing they come up with this generalization that all men are bad, all men are this, all women are that. Do you understand? It's not right. Give everyone a chance to prove themselves. Of course, you've learned from a circumstance, and it will make you become wiser. So you don't judge your current spouse, or you undo that person you're dating at that present, you know, moment by the past. You know, because, for example, you notice that you had a spouse who always withholds her phone. She's always, you know, chatting with other men. And the moment you get into that new relationship, you notice that, you know, this other lady too, she likes, you know, a private space. She likes, you know, to also withhold. You now begin to now feel that, oh, maybe she's doing the same thing. No, give her a chance to prove herself. Of course, you might want to investigate. When you investigate and you find out that, you know, you might investigate and find out that she's not wrong. Maybe it's just our own way of life, how she's been brought up to always, have our personal space or our private space. Do you get? So it's not always good for you to judge people by, your past circumstances.
In Nigeria today, some get soaked up with worries about life situations, and I think we've also like talked about it. When you ask them, "What are you thinking?" they always feel like this whole idea of "I'm fine" when they're actually not fine.
Fine, yeah.
Right? How do we get people to come out of that? I mean, how do you get people to get to talk about these things? I mean, people are supposed to be calling in now to say, okay, because we've all experienced this thing somehow at some stage in our life.
Yeah.
We've experienced it. So how do you get people to actually talk about these things?
Well, you see,
What do you do personally? I mean, I'm sure people come to you.
I don't judge people. The thing is, people who are naturally judgmental. Do you get? So the thing is, we live in a world where people focus more on our limitations rather than our potential. People focus more on our weaknesses rather than our strengths. So it's natural for people to try as much as possible to be defensive. But when you're coming to a psychologist should have the mindset of being neutral, not judging you by, even when you tell him the worst of things that you've done, it doesn't, define you by your past, because he knows that, of course, everyone can change. And I tell people that you don't criticize the person, you criticize the act.
Okay.
People are not bad. They're not necessarily bad. It's things that they do that are bad. But like I said, we live in a society where people judge. People are quick to see your faults.
Yeah.
I tell people that we're miserable by nature. Personally, if you have a white shirt on, a white, stainless shirt, and then maybe while you were eating your favorite food, plantain, palm oil, gets on on it. Despite the fact that it's just a stain, you focus, you still have your shirt, your sparkling white shirt, still looking nice. You focus on that stain, and you just tell yourself, no, I can't wear this out. This is not nice and all that. And people who also see you, they focus on that stain. Oh, what she's wearing is not doesn't. I tell people that just when a few dirty drops get into an ocean, it doesn't make the ocean dirty. So we need to learn to not be judgmental. Even the Bible says, "Do not judge, unless you will be judged." So let's always have an open mind.
Yeah.
And when, as a person, if you're going through circumstances, find someone whom you feel safe with. People who tend to focus on on the positive side of you. People who naturally bring the best out of you.
Yeah.
If you go to a naysayer, someone who is a critic, of course, they will leave you even worse than you formerly were. So it's okay to be defensive, but it's much more important to be vulnerable sometimes. Always seek help. When you ask for help, it doesn't make you weak. You're asking for help because you want to remain strong.
Okay, we have Pelumi calling from Mushe. Good morning, Pelumi. Can you be a bit audible so we can hear you?
Yeah, I'm Pelumi from Mushin.
Good
So I
morning.
just want to talk about this depression of the thing. Actually on the kind of issue right now. There's this girl I actually like, so she kind of not giving in. So I'm just trying to ask, how do I get her away from my mind or something like that? So it's really causing me a lot of problem right now. So I just thank you.
Okay, thank you, Pelumi, for your contribution. It's saying, how can he
Yes.
get away from...
Yeah, I understand that. Sometimes it's the brain hardly forgets things, and when there's something called attachment, when you meet somebody, you adapt yourself to them. Prior to that time, you felt you were living a good life. You were so happy all by yourself. The moment you go through, you engage in a relationship with this person, you become attached to them, such that when they leave your life, it becomes difficult to detach.
Okay, because of our time, really, we have to round off. Let's get your parting words on this. what is your advice to people who are watching this morning? I mean, overcoming depression. What's your take on that? What do you want them to do?
The thing is, I think that there's a saying by Abraham Lincoln that we can either complain that roses have thorns, or we can rejoice that thorns have roses. Let us always look at the brighter side of life. What you're going through, someone else is going through worse, and is even, becoming better from it, is handling it in a better way. So, like I said, pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. You do not try as much as possible not to allow your past define you. Let it educate you. Move on and become better from it.
All right. Thank you so much. We have been talking to Tosi Imogeme, and we've been talking about overcoming depression and life challenges. You can overcome it. All you have to do is put your mind to it and then look for a way to detach yourself from whatever pains it is you're going through. Thank you so much for coming
You're
this
welcome.
morning. Yes. And don't forget to keep follow the measures put in place by the government. Wash your hands regularly. The face mask alone is not going to save you from contracting the coronavirus. Just follow all the preventive measures that's been rolled out and know that at the end of the day, we shall all overcome this. If you walk and I walk, together we all can make a change. Thank you for listening and thank you for watching this morning. Until will come your way again next week, Saturday. It's bye for now. I am Kiruka Ibe. Thank you for watching.